Most men do not have a self-awareness problem. They have an honesty problem. They know exactly what is wrong. They know exactly what needs to change. And they keep finding incredibly intelligent reasons to do nothing about it. This video is going to make that uncomfortable. Because the lies you tell yourself are not obvious. They are sophisticated. They sound reasonable. They feel justified. And they are keeping you exactly where you are. Let's get into it. Here is the uncomfortable truth that most self-improvement content will never say to you. If you keep consuming content like this and still don't act, you are not confused. You are avoiding. There is a point where self-improvement becomes self-distraction, where watching replaces doing, where insight becomes a way to feel progress without actually making any. And most men get stuck there for years. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack information, because they lack honesty. Now, before we go further, one thing needs to be said clearly. This video is not anti-therapy. Therapy is one of the most powerful tools a man can access for clinical conditions, trauma, severe depression, anxiety disorders, addiction. Professional support is not optional, it is essential. But here is what therapy does well, and what it cannot do. Therapy creates a safe space to identify patterns. It reduces shame around difficult experiences. It provides support when things go beyond self-help. What therapy cannot do: make decisions for you, build your discipline, give you motivation, replace the daily behavioral work of becoming a better man. The session is the map. You still have to walk the territory, and most men are confusing the map for the journey. Here is the phenomenon psychologists call insight without behavior change. You go to therapy, or you read the book, or you watch the video. You identify your patterns. You understand where they came from. You feel seen. You feel heard. You feel better. And then you go home and do the exact same thing you did last week. Because understanding why you do something and actually stopping are two completely different processes. They are driven by different systems in your brain. Knowing is cognitive. Changing is behavioral. And no amount of knowing will substitute for doing. Psychologists call this the intention-action gap, the space between what you know you should do and what you actually do. Every man reading self-help but not changing his life lives in that gap. Every man who understands his patterns but keeps repeating them lives in that gap. Every man who knows he should speak up, train harder, cut off the wrong people, but doesn't, lives in that gap. The gap is not filled by more insight. It is filled by honesty first, and then action. So let's start with the honesty. There are 5 questions that every good therapist will eventually bring you to. Not all at once, not always directly. But these are the core questions beneath every real change. And you do not need an appointment to start answering them. Question 1. What keeps happening to me? Not once, not twice. Across different situations, different people, different years. The same argument, the same dynamic, the same outcome. If the same problem follows you everywhere, you are the common denominator. This is not an attack. This is where your control begins. Because if you created the pattern, you can break it. Recurring patterns are not bad luck. They are the external expression of internal beliefs. The man who keeps getting disrespected is operating from a belief about what he deserves. And until that belief changes, the pattern won't. So ask yourself, what keeps happening to me? Question 2. Where did I first learn to behave this way? This is where most men get uncomfortable, because the answer almost always involves something they did not choose. Every self-defeating behavior you have today was adaptive at some point. It made sense once. The boy who learned to go quiet to avoid conflict became the man who cannot speak up. The boy who learned to perform to get love became the man who cannot stop seeking validation. The strategy worked then. It is costing you now. The goal is not to blame the past. It is to recognize that a coping mechanism built by a child may be running the life of a grown man. Question 3. What am I not doing because it makes me uncomfortable? This is the question that cuts deepest, because avoidance is the engine behind almost every male struggle. Anxiety, low confidence, social isolation, stalled goals, every single one maintained by avoidance. Here is the neuroscience. Every time you avoid something uncomfortable, your brain registers a signal. Threat confirmed. Stay away. And the next time that situation appears, the discomfort is stronger. The avoidance feels more necessary. Neuroscientists call this the fear reinforcement loop. Every avoidance teaches your brain the threat is real. This is how a man slowly shrinks his life. Not in one dramatic moment, over thousands of small ones. The only way to update that signal is action in the presence of discomfort, not after the discomfort passes in it. So what are you avoiding? What conversation have you been postponing? What version of yourself have you been delaying? Write it down. Question 4. What do I already know I need to change, but keep refusing to face? This is where most men stop, because the answer is already there. It has always been there. The relationship that is draining you. The habit that is slowly destroying you. The version of yourself you have been promising to become for years. You know, but your brain protects you from that truth. Psychologists call it motivated reasoning. The brain's ability to construct convincing justifications for staying exactly where it is. It sounds like this: I am just not motivated right now, instead of I am afraid of failing. She was not right for me, instead of I did not show up. I am too busy, instead of this is not actually a priority for me. I am still figuring myself out, instead of I am using uncertainty to avoid commitment. Every single one of those sentences is the brain protecting the ego from a truth it does not want to face. That is not weakness. That is the default human operating system. But recognizing it is how you override it. Here is a tool that cuts through motivated reasoning immediately. Call it the 3 a.m. test. Imagine it is 3 in the morning. You cannot sleep. No one is watching. No story to maintain. No image to protect. What would you admit is true? That is where your real work begins. Question 5. Who would I be if this problem did not exist? And what is one thing that version of me does that I currently do not? Most men try to change their outcomes. I want to be more confident. I want to be more disciplined. But they never change their identity. Research on behavior change is consistent on this point. Acting from identity is significantly more durable than chasing outcomes. The man who decides he is disciplined and acts accordingly is operating from a completely different psychological position than the man who is trying to become disciplined. One is living a truth. The other is negotiating with himself every day. So answer this specifically, not who you want to be in general. What is one concrete behavior that version of you does that you currently don't? That is your starting point. Now let's talk about the part that ties all 5 questions together. The reason most men can answer every single one of those questions and still not change. Self-deception. The brain is designed to protect your ego. When your behavior and your self-image don't match, it creates psychological tension. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, and the brain resolves that tension, not by changing the behavior, by changing the story. I am a good man, and those people deserved it. I am serious about my goals, but this period is unusually difficult. I respect myself, but this situation is complicated. The tension disappears. The behavior continues. The man stays exactly where he was. This is not a moral failure. It is a cognitive one, and awareness of it is the first step to overriding it. Radical honesty is not self-criticism. It is not beating yourself up. It is the refusal to let the story protect you from the truth. Because the truth, uncomfortable as it is the only place real change begins. So here is your challenge, right now. Pick the question from this video that made you most uncomfortable, the one you wanted to skip past, the one that created a slight tightening in your chest. Open your Notes app. Write the honest answer. Not the answer that sounds good, not the answer that protects the image, the true one. Because that answer is the beginning of the work, and the work is the only thing that actually changes a man. Not the insight, not the awareness, not the content, the work. Start today.